An Erios original.
Hello, and welcome to Webcrawlers, the podcast where we do a deep dive into the weirdest, strangest, and most mysterious corners of the internet. I'm Allie Siegel.
I'm Melissa Stettin.
And who are our patrons this week?
We've got Julie and we've got Salamander again.
a literal salamander.
A literal salamander.
Welcome to the team. We hope that you enjoy our Alien Con footage, which I think is up now.
Yes, it's on Patreon.
Yeah, we might have to add, I haven't looked yet, the bonus footage that Alien Con itself sent us, which I heard was kind of subpar. I'll look at that today, cool. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. The Move On guys
hosting was great.
Hostess with the mostest.
It was great.
I think the next thing we're going to try to go to is Monsterpalooza. We'll
not to be confused with Lollapalooza.
Yes.
Green Day will not be there.
Yeah, well, you never know.
You never know.
Don't rule it out. Melissa, we're starting Food Scam March. It might bleed a little bit into April.
It's already
March,
the
April.
end of March.
Yeah.
It'll be the next few weeks.
March and April, yes. What is our episode on today?
Well, I have a very important question for you, Allie.
Yes.
Are you Coke or Pepsi?
This is a great question.
It is.
Okay, I'm Coke Zero.
Okay.
But I think I'm either Coke Zero or Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi.
I think Pepsi, Coke Zero is my new favorite. I think Coke Zero is really delicious.
I'm a fan of Coke Zero too.
But prior to Coke Zero, and I think they now have like a new recipe for Coke Zero that's particularly good.
Yes, that's true.
I'm actually a low-key Pepsi person. Like, I think it's creamier almost, kind of. I can't explain it.
I don't know that I've had Diet Pepsi, to be honest.
It's good. And even regular Pepsi. So I would say Coke Zero / Diet Pepsi. If they give me a Pepsi, I'm not bummed. I don't say no.
Right. I feel like I was initially Coke because that's what my dad would buy. And then I feel like in the late 90s, we were a Pepsi family.
Interesting.
And then I'm back to Coke now.
Well, if you have a problem, you can talk to me.
I'm back into Coke now.
There actually wasn't there, I don't know, I haven't read your doc today, but wasn't there actually cocaine in Coke at first?
Yes, there was.
We can talk about that during the episode. But
the coca leaves.
No, but I mean like
that come from Peru. That's what cocaine is made from, the coca leaves.
Oh, really?
Yes. Right?
I guess I didn't know. I guess I don't know what cocaine
because
is.
When I went to Peru, they have bowls of coca leaves.
Yeah.
Coca leaves. And you chew on them. And it's supposed to give you it's like
energy?
Having a cup of coffee or something. So you just leave it in your mouth, like chewing tobacco. I constantly just had mouthfuls of coca leaves just all day long.
I'm literally going to Google what is cocaine.
It's coca... If I'm not mistaken, coca leaves.
Yeah, it's a white powder that comes from the dried leaves of the coca plant.
And I think the coca leaves are illegal here. I believe you can't bring them over.
That's weird that it's like natural.
Yeah. Well, they process it with
right. Well, now it's
gasoline,
like so scary.
I think, is what they use to gasoline and
God.
It's not good
for
you.
And now fentanyl, you have to be really... Oh, it's not? Now you have to be...
It's not good for you, as opposed to... Yeah, well, it sucks now because you can't just do cocaine. You gotta... I mean, unless you have those testing strips.
It's really, really scary. I mean, we'll get to the episode in a second, but side note, if you do drugs, always test. I mean, I knew a girlfriend who I begged her. I was like, please test. And all of her cocaine was positive for fentanyl. And thank God she tested, because who knows what would have happened.
Yeah,
so
you can't just be doing it willy-nilly. Like even 10 years ago, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never fun to do.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like a different day.
Doing it,
back in the 80s.
I would just snort whatever. But now, no way, man. It's scary.
No, it's really scary out there.
Stuff.
Anything. I even read the other day that someone had bought Adderall at a pharmacy in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
And it had fentanyl in it. Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So, guys, really be careful.
Test
just
everything.
Test everything unless you are like getting it from your pharmacist prescribed. All right. So, what's our back to?
That was our PSA.
Our PSA.
Don't do
Dare.
drugs.
We're sponsored by Dare this week and Mad and Dare.
We're mothers against doing drugs.
Mothers against cocaine.
Okay. So Coke or Pepsi? Okay, so this is about New Coke. This is about the whole New Coke debacle. It was a whole thing.
I don't know about this.
You don't remember it?
Is this about Crystal Pepsi?
No.
Oh.
Crystal Pepsi is trash. So on April 23rd, 1985, Coca-Cola announced a change to its nearly century-old secret formula.
Oh.
It was New Coke. And New Coke would have a smoother, sweeter taste similar to Diet Coke. But it was sweetened with corn syrup.
Ooh.
And market researchers and pollsters were sure that it would be a hit. Coca-Cola was already number one at the time.
Don't change it.
Don't broke it if it ain't fixed.
Don't broke if it ain't fixed. You know what they say.
But Pepsi was gaining ground and cutting into Coke's precious market share.
Uh-oh.
So this is the cola wars of the 80s. This is what it was all about.
Ooh.
So Coke wanted to make sure that they were the superior beverage. But the whole thing was like this huge failure. And we all know that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what went wrong?
What did go wrong?
What went wrong? So let's go all the way back to World War II. We're going way back.
I was about to make a joke like I fought in the great cola wars of the 1980s, but then we're actually going back to World War II.
Yeah, I was in the cola wars.
I was in the cola wars.
So after World War II, Coca-Cola had 60% of the market share for cola. That's all people drink.
Wow.
But by 1983, pop is what we call it in the Midwest. By 1983, it had declined to under 24% because of Pepsi.
Wow.
Pepsi had begun to outsell Coke in supermarkets, and Coke was leading only through vending machines and fast food restaurants. That's where most people were getting their Coke from.
Interesting.
That makes sense because we always had like a 2-liter of like Coke or Pepsi in our house, and it became Pepsi like in the 90s instead of Coke.
Yes.
So market analysts,
excuse me?
Analysts. They study people named Alan.
Who study Pepsi. People named Alan for the cola wars.
Market analysts. They believe baby boomers were more likely to purchase diet drinks because they started becoming like health and weight conscious.
They were like the slim fast generation.
Yes. And then growth in the non-diet sodas would be for the younger people who at the time liked Pepsi more, like myself.
Oh, yeah.
Coca-Cola's senior executives commissioned a secret project to create a new flavor for Coke. It was called Project Kansas.
What is this? A CIA operative?
They named it after a photo of a Kansas journalist, William Allen White, drinking a Coke. And it's like a famous image that was used for advertising and hung on executives' walls.
I would love like a Project like Allison, and it's me like eating a fat burger, and like fat burger executives are like trying to create a new sandwich, and it's like modeled after me eating
Project
a fat burger.
Allie Siegel.
Yeah.
The sweeter cola overwhelmingly beat both regular Coke and Pepsi in taste tests. So this new Coke was winning taste tests.
Huh.
So asked if they would buy and drink the product if it were Coke, most testers say they would. They didn't tell them it was new Coke. They're like, we have this new soda. And they were like, oh, if this is Coke, would you buy it? And everyone's like, yeah, absolutely. They said it would take some getting used to, but people seem to like the new flavor. Mm-hmm. But about 10 to 12% of the testers in the test group, they were angry. They felt angry and alienated at the thought, and they said they might stop drinking Coke.
That's so funny.
Because they didn't want the recipe to change. Yeah. Yeah. Just for no reason at all.
They're just furious. Yeah.
So the management rejected an idea to make and sell the new flavor as a separate variety of Coca-Cola. So the company's bottlers were already complaining about absorbing other recent additions into the product line since 82, because they had Diet Coke, and then Cherry Coke was launched at the same time as New Coke during 1985, which I didn't realize that.
No.
So they were like, oh, not another fucking Coke flavor? Like, can we just, make it into the New Coke? So that's what they decided to do. So they launched New Coke on April 23rd, 1985, and then production of this original Coke formula ended. They were like, New Coke, it's a new formula, it's slightly sweeter, because they wanted to compete with Pepsi. So they had a press conference at New York City's Lincoln Center to introduce the new formula that did not go well. Reporters had already been fed questions by Pepsi, which was worried that New Coke would erase its gains. Like, they were already hating on New Coke, like reporters from Pepsi.
Yeah.
Gozweta is the Coke CEO. He described the new flavor as bolder, rounder, and more harmonious.
Oh, okay.
And Coke sales were up 8% over the same period as the year before. So they're like, okay, great, it's going well. But then came the backlash.
Uh-oh.
Though this new Coke flavor was accepted by Coca-Cola drinkers, people resented the change. Not that they disliked the flavor, they just resented that they changed the flavor.
Yeah, people are so weird.
And many critics were from southern U.S. states, and some of whom considered Coca-Cola part of their regional identity.
Yeah,
like they drink Coke, culture. That's it. That's what they drink.
Like, don't appropriate my culture.
Don't appropriate. Yeah, so some viewed the change as a surrender to the Yankees.
Oh my God.
Because Pepsi's based in New York.
This is so funny.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're trying to compete with those Yanks up north? Weird.
This is crazy.
It's like Civil War shit.
Yeah.
So a professor at the University of Mississippi observed that, quote, changing Coca-Cola is an intrusion on tradition and thus would not be received well in that region.
Oh my God.
So a columnist from Alabama insinuated that the flavor change was a communist plot.
This is so funny.
People were losing their minds.
It's like the woke liberal media is trying to change Coca-Cola.
That's exactly what it is. So the company received over 40,000 calls and letters expressing anger and disappointment, including one letter delivered to the CEO that was addressed to Chief Dodo of the Coca-Cola Company.
Oh my God. Like calling him like an idiot? Like called him like a dodo? Oh my God.
Then another letter asked for his autograph as the signature of one of the dumbest executives in American business history.
This is insane.
The company hotline, 1-800-GET-COKE, received over 1,500 calls a day compared to around 400 before the change. I want to know, what were 400 people were calling the Coke hotline a day? Just why? What were they saying? Why do you call a Coke hotline? Like complain about things, I guess?
Yeah, I
don't know.
I mean, people must be so bored.
Yeah. Maybe like one of their cans was like dented or opened or something. I don't know. What do you...
I don't know. Or
like, it doesn't taste right. I bet there was a lot of, this tastes weird. A psychiatrist whom Coke had hired to listen in on the calls told executives that some people sounded as if they were discussing the death of a family member.
Oh my God.
People were heartbroken over this
That would be
change.
my favorite job. Can you imagine being a psychiatrist and getting a call from Coke being like, will you just listen in on these calls and
what's going on with these people?
Read how crazy these people are and just tell us what's going on.
Like, I'm sure people were like crying.
Yeah. That's so weird.
I know. So comedians and talk show hosts like Johnny Carson, David Letterman, they all made jokes about the switch. Ads for New Coke were booed heavily when they appeared on the scoreboard at the Houston Astrodome.
Oh my God.
Even Fidel Castro, a longtime Coca-Cola drinker, contributed to the backlash, calling New Coke a sign of American capitalist decadence.
That's insane.
Yes. So Pepsi, of course, took advantage of the situation.
As they should.
They ran ads to mock Coke.
That's funny.
Pepsi actually gained very few long-term converts over Coke's switch, despite a 14% sales increase over the same month the previous year. So Pepsi didn't even really gain that many new drinkers over this.
Well, because people like to complain, but they're also creatures of habit. Like, they're not actually going to do anything about it. They just like to create a fuss.
Yeah, like everyone who's like, don't shop at so-and-so, don't shop at this place anymore, and then like you forget over a year and you're like, where am I not supposed to shop at?
Oh, yeah, or like, I mean, 1,000 times I've been like, Amazon is bad, Jeff Bezos is trash, and then every day I'm getting an Amazon package because I'm just like, it's easy. I'm used to it.
I got a
it's
baby.
Easy.
I have to like get stuff next day.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad about it, but like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, God, Coke's right there. I already have some in the fridge, you know. Like.
Oh, there's some funny Pepsi YouTube. It was a Pepsi New Coke ad where they were making fun of New Coke.
By the way, I'm trying to Google like all the Coke flavors that exist, and
there's nearly so many now.
It's impossible to try to find this list. I don't know why I can't find it.
What's the matter, Wilbur?
They changed my Coke.
Something wrong with it?
I know, they sure changed it.
Coulda asked.
What coulda? I stuck with them through 3 wars and a couple of dust storms, but this is too much. Guess something big made them change.
Right, big.
Right, big.
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Still coulda asked.
Yeah, it's just people
Oh my God, that's
pissed
really
off.
funny.
It's just 3 old guys sitting around like being pissed off that they changed the recipe.
That's actually a great commercial because it's really relatable to people. Like, I'm sure people watching that would be like, I feel that way too.
Yeah. Why'd they change the recipe?
Yeah.
I stuck with them through since the 1800s. Yeah. So Roger Enrico, the director of Pepsi, declared a company-wide holiday, took out a full-page ad in the New York Times proclaiming that Pepsi had won the Cola Wars.
Oh my God.
What a
This
nerd.
is so dorky. Yeah, this is so dorky.
What a dork. Over the course of the month, Coca-Cola's chemists also quietly reduced the acidity levels of the new formula, hoping to like get rid of complaints about the flavor and allow its sweetness to be better perceived. So that's crazy that they were like secretly like,
Yeah, just
let's
changing
go
it.
back to the old flavor slowly. But then in the afternoon of July 11th, 1985, Coke executives announced the return of the original formula. That was what, 3 months later? 79 days after New Coke's introduction.
Like, our bad.
ABC News' Peter Jennings interrupted General Hospital with a special bulletin to share the news. Like, it's breaking news. Like, there's a war breaking out. They're like, breaking news. Coke is coming back. Wars. On the floor of the U.S. Senate, David Pryor called the reintroduction a meaningful moment in U.S. history.
How do I not remember any of this? This is
Well,
the
it was
craziest-
85.
Oh, I wasn't born
So
yet.
you weren't born
That's
yet.
a good reason.
Yeah. The new Coke, or the new product, continued to be marketed and sold as Coke until 1992, when it was renamed Coke 2, which I remember Coke 2. So they still had the old formula was named Coca-Cola Classic.
I remember Coca-Cola
Do you remember
Classic.
seeing cans Coca-Cola Classic?
Yes.
So for a short time, it was referred by the public as Old Coke.
This is so weird.
But that's why they called it Classic. It's so weird. Gay Mullins, who's the founder of the organization Old Cola Drinkers of America, which had lobbied Coke to either reintroduce the old formula or sell it to someone else.
We got to get someone for that on if it still exists.
They were given the first case of the Coca-Cola Classic.
Good for them.
Later, he complained that the drink now made him sick, which he blamed on the drink's use of high fructose corn syrup, because apparently they switched from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup. He also claimed that high fructose corn syrup had dulled his taste buds, accounting for his preference for New Coke in the taste test. Because he was tested, he preferred the New
really
Coke. He's
funny.
like, oh, well, it must be because they messed up my taste.
Yeah, y'all
buds.
fucked me up. Yeah.
By the end of 1985, Coca-Cola Classic was substantially outselling both New Coke and Pepsi. And then 6 months after the rollout, Coke sales had increased at more than twice the rate of Pepsi's. So Coke came back and like fucking just soared to the top.
Oh my God.
New Coke's sales dwindled to a 3% share of the market, although it was selling quite well in Los Angeles and some other key markets.
Oh.
Later research, however, suggested that it was not the return of Coca-Cola Classic, but instead the nearly unnoticed introduction of Cherry Coke, which appeared almost simultaneously with New Coke. And that can be credited with the company's success in 85.
Oh, interesting.
So Cherry Coke was like was a win. I fucking love Cherry Coke.
Yeah, me too.
The Coca-Cola company spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out where it had made a mistake.
Oh, God.
Ultimately concluding that it had underestimated the public reaction of the portion of the customer base that would be alienated by the switch. They didn't take that into consideration, which like I wouldn't assume.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't know. That's just a weird thing it's a weird reaction.
Yeah, you think?
This did more to position and define Coca-Cola as a brand embodying values distinct from Pepsi.
Oh.
It allowed itself to be portrayed as a somewhat clueless large corporation forced to withdraw from a big change by overwhelming public pressure that flattered customers. So people were like, they care. Pushed Coke into doing this and they listened to us.
It's a brand of the people.
I found this is funny on Wikipedia. Bill Cosby ended his long-time advertising for Coca-Cola, claiming that his commercials praising the superiority of the new formula had hurt his credibility.
Yeah, you don't want that to hurt your credibility.
You know what else hurt your credibility?
Yeah, the rapes.
Ooh. No one at Coca-Cola was fired for the change. When the CEO died in 1997, the company's share price was well above what it was when he had taken over 16 years earlier, and its position as a market leader was even more firmly established. So they were more successful as ever.
Yeah, you got to make a lemonade out of lemons.
Exactly. So the CEO said, yes, it infuriated the public, cost us a ton of money, and lasted for only 77 days before we reintroduced Coca-Cola Classic. Still, New Coke was a success because it revitalized the brand and reattached the public to Coke.
That's kind of interesting.
So it turns out it was a success.
Yeah, not every mistake is a mistake.
Exactly. That's what they say.
It's a Marilyn Monroe quote.
Marilyn Monroe.
Let's take a quick break for announcements. Webcrawlers has a Patreon. To get access to bonus episodes, shout-outs, merchandise discounts, please go to patreon.com/webcrawlers. You can donate as little as $2 a month to become one of our bimbo patrons. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. If you give us a 5-star review, we will shout you out. Also, Erios has a hotline. Insert jingle here.
626-604-6262. Erios.
Continue to call us. And also, I'm going to post some prompts on our Instagram.
Okay.
For like call-in prompts.
Right. Because it's fun when people like call in about the same thing.
Yes.
Like the driving test thing. Like that was real fun.
Yeah. I think the prompts for this week, I'll say them here, are going to be, what do you think UAPs are?
Oh, okay.
Do you think they're aliens? Do you think it's another country? Like, what do you think this phenomenon is? Mm-hmm. And then the second prompt will tell you at the end of the episode today.
Ooh, I don't know what this is.
Yes. Now back to our program.
Okay, so this is a taste test they did in 1987. So the Wall Street Journal surveyed 100 randomly selected cola drinkers, the majority of whom indicated that they had a preference for Pepsi. Like before they took the test, most people were like, I love Pepsi. Pepsi's my favorite.
Oh.
And then less than half like Classic Coke, then only 2 people like the New Coke. They did a blind taste test They tested all three: Pepsi, Classic Coke, and New Coke. New Coke was the winner.
Wow.
But what's crazy is that when the people found out that they had chosen New Pepsi or New Coke, they were angry.
Yeah, I'm sure they were furious.
They're like, no, I'm a Coke loyalist. There's no way. Like, I'm a Pepsi loyalist. Like, they were furious that they had chosen
that's really
the
funny.
New Coke flavor, that's weird. So in the short run, the reintroduction of original Coke saved Coke's sales figures and brought it back in the good graces of many customers and bottlers. And then all the phone calls and letters to the company were joyful and thankful.
Oh, good.
One executive said, "You would have thought we'd cured cancer."
Little did they know they were just creating it with all their ingredients.
But at the beginning of 1986, Coke's marketing team found a strategy by returning to one of their original motives for changing the formula, the youth market that preferred Pepsi. So they're like, we got to get this youth market back because these kids are all going for Pepsi.
Yeah, the youths.
So that's when Max Headroom came into the picture. The computer-generated media personality was chosen to replace Bill Cosby as the spokesman for Coke's new Catch the Wave campaign. Do you remember this?
No, I'm.
You don't?
Googling. No,
it was. Maybe it was too.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was before my time, I think.
Yeah.
But now I Googled and I've seen this. I've seen these like old commercials on like MTV or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So the campaign was a huge success. Coke's consumer hotline received more calls about Max Headroom than any previous spokesperson. Some even asking if he had a girlfriend.
I just Googled Lord of the Rings star Elijah Wood producing reboot of Max Headroom series.
What?
Yeah.
I love this Coke hotline. Sounds amazing.
I wish we could hear like old recordings.
Like it's not real. He's not a real.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very good looking man.
He's kind of hot.
Yeah, he's kind of hot. So Coke 2. In 1985, New Coke was only sold in the United States and Canada, while the original formula continued to be sold in the rest of the world. This is a crazy fun fact that I learned. So I'm going to make you guess who this is. So in the early 2000s, this person suggested the name of C2 while working as a tastemaker for an ad agency, and they gave her $25,000 for the name. So they changed the name of Coke 2 into C2.
Interesting.
And she is a famous director now.
Sofia Coppola.
She was working at an ad agency, I believe it was in Seattle, in the early 2000s.
Do we know who it is?
Oh, I know who it is.
Oh, you're asking me to guess.
Yeah.
Is it the woman who was married to James Cameron?
No.
I have no idea who.
It's Miranda July.
What? Really?
Yeah. I guess that was like one of her first jobs. She was working in marketing.
That's
she
crazy.
Suggested C2 and they gave her $25,000.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's so crazy. So yeah, and then July 2002, Coca-Cola announced that Coke 2 would be discontinued entirely. So this
is a real mess.
So Coke 2 is gone.
Yeah.
Crazy. Now we get to the conspiracies.
I'm ready.
The most popular one that I don't disagree with is that the company intentionally changed the formula, hoping the consumers would be upset with the company and demand the original to return, in which that would cause sales to spike.
I can see that.
Yeah. It's pretty risky to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of money.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It's not.
That seems, yeah.
The switch was planned. This is what they claim. The switch was planned all along to cover the change from sugar-sweetened Coke to the much less expensive high fructose corn syrup. So they're saying that they knew that they needed to switch from sugar to corn syrup. And they're like, how do we do that? We switch the formula to New Coke, and then we switch it back to regular Coke, and people will be like, oh, good, Coke's back, without realizing that it's high fructose corn syrup instead of sugar because it was cheaper.
Right. What is it now that's in Coke?
I think it's high fructose corn syrup.
Because I know you can also buy like just full sugar Coke.
I think those are called Mexican Coke.
That's Mexican Coke, right?
Yeah.
Those are good.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a theory. That's an interesting theory. The U.S. Sugar Trade Association took out a full-page ad lambasting Coke for using high fructose corn syrup in all the bottling of the old formula when it was reintroduced. So they switched to corn syrup after the fact. So that was weird coincidence, I guess. And then Coca-Cola began allowing bottlers to remove up to half of the product's cane sugar as early as the 80s, 5 years before the introduction of new Coke. So by the time the new formula was introduced, most bottlers had already sweetened Coke entirely with high fructose corn syrup.
Oh, and that's so bad for you.
I know. So it provided cover for the final removal of all coca derivatives from the product to placate the DEA, which was trying to eradicate the plant worldwide to combat cocaine trafficking. So while Coke's executives were relieved the new formula contained no coca and concerned about the long-term future of the Peruvian government-owned coca fields that supplied it in the face of increasing DEA pressure to end cultivation of the crop. So there was no direct pressure from the DEA on Coca-Cola to do so.
So that
was a theory that was endorsed in Time magazine.
That's really
like years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they claim the reformulation was made in response to the war on drugs by the Reagan administration.
That's wild.
So it's interesting. But then we come to 2019.
Ooh.
May 21st, 2019, Coca-Cola announced that the 1985 reformulation, once again with the name New Coke, would be reintroduced in limited quantities to promote the third season of Stranger Things.
Oh my God.
It's because they drank New Coke in the show.
That's funny.
About 500,000 cans of New Coke were produced, and they were sold mostly online. The volume of orders crashed the Coca-Cola website because so many people ordered it.
Jesus. That's crazy.
So that's the story of New Coke.
A story I had no idea about the forgotten cola wars of the 80s.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was what the cola wars were based around.
Yeah. Or you thought it was based around something else?
I thought it was the actual wars. Like you thought guns.
You thought it was a whole other thing.
It's like
had no idea what to do with soda. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was looking at Crystal Pepsi. Because I remember Crystal Pepsi was...
I do remember that.
Was the 90s. It didn't have a lemon or lime flavor, but it didn't quite have a normal cola flavor either.
Yeah.
And it was like very short-lived. Remember they brought it back like 5 years ago?
Yeah, and it failed too.
And I bought some. I went to Walgreens and I bought Crystal Pepsi. It was disgusting.
Oof.
It was like not, I don't know what, it was gross. It was so gross.
Because Coca-Cola also made Coca-Cola Clear.
They did?
Yeah.
What? I don't remember that.
Uh-huh.
Coke Clear.
Yeah, I just found out after you read your thing.
Oh, ew.
I think maybe it's only in Japan, but I remember it.
Oh, Coca-Cola Clear launched in Japan 2018. Did that ever come over here?
No.
Oh, weird.
But it says it's like the Crystal Pepsi.
I don't understand why it would taste different because isn't the brown just like food coloring?
Yeah, I think so. Ew. Coca-Cola orange. Literally looking at that almost makes me want to throw up.
Have you tried the coffee Cokes?
Okay, so there's two incarnations of this. Do you remember
one like a year ago that I was like, this isn't that bad?
No, but so they introduced one in like the 2000s. And I used to love it.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay, wait, what was it? It was Coffee Coke 2000s.
Coca-Cola Black 2006 and discontinued 2008. Was that
Yes, that must have been it. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Yes, for some reason I would drink it all the time.
Really?
Yes, and I really liked it. It tasted
Did it have
really
more
good.
Caffeine in it than?
I think so.
Wait, caffeine. Oh yeah, it did. Coke Black had 46 milligrams of caffeine. Coke Classic had 23 milligrams. Had double.
Yeah, I think I would like drink it like
Jesus.
instead of Red Bull, like when I was like partying.
Whoa, that's a lot of fucking caffeine.
Yeah, it's kind of like half a cup of coffee. It's like half of the cup of coffee. And I thought it tasted really good. The new one doesn't taste the same as it.
Right. God, there's so many flavors of Coke now.
Yeah, I tried to find I want to find a whole list of every single flavor, and I can't.
Cherry, vanilla, limited edition Coca-Cola creations. What is a Coke lime? What is this shit? I mean, do people drink though? Like who's getting a Coke orange?
Coke garlic? Oh, but this is a YouTube though. Hold on, I'm going to send this to you.
Coke orange is my shit. Like who?
Yeah. I'm going to send this to you and you tell, and maybe we can play it and cut it out.
You ever had caffeine-free Diet Coke?
No, that's like insane.
My mom drinks that.
That's like the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's insane.
If I'm going to drink any soda, it needs to have the most caffeine.
I know.
Ever.
I usually drink regular Coke. If I don't really drink Coke that much.
Yeah, I have some Coke Zeros in my fridge
Yeah,
right now.
occasionally, but I've had like at least 15 fillings in my mouth from drinking Coke as a kid.
I sent you a YouTube of the top 10 weirdest Coca-Cola flavors from around the world.
Coke bacon, Coke green tea, Coke Citra, Coke garlic, Coke bubble
Coke garlic.
That's crazy.
Coke garlic. I don't believe that. I mean, that'd be good for cooking. Coke garlic.
Garlic.
Because don't people like marinate like ribs and chicken and Coke?
That's a thing, right?
I think it's a thing. So maybe they made Coke garlic for cooking. It's your cooking Coke. It's not drinking Coke. It's
for
cooking
cooking.
Coke.
You just
Yeah,
leave
it's like
it
when
on
you
the
have
shelf
cooking wine and like
next to your olive oil.
Yeah, it's your cooking Coke.
I was looking up other products that failed, and I saw the Arch Deluxe.
What's that?
Do you remember this? It's from McDonald's. They spent $150 million in 1996. They sold it as a more sophisticated option for to adults.
What's in it?
The Arch Deluxe, quarter pound of beef, bacon, lettuce, tomato, cheese.
So it's just the same thing, but with a different name.
That's dumb. And then I remembered this commercial I was in. Do you remember the Microsoft
Stop.
Kin?
No, what is that?
It was a phone that came out in 2009. It was a huge flop, but I was in a commercial for it.
You've got to be kidding me.
It was like more of a rounder shaped phone.
I have to Google
And they
this.
advertised it as like mostly for social media. Like you could just click on a picture, upload it to like your MySpace or Facebook page.
Oh my God,
But, like,
this is crazy.
It didn't work. Like it was so bad. And I remember I went to Coachella in 2010 and they had the Microsoft Kin Lounge and they had like the commercial that I'm in, like playing on the big,
Shut up.
on the screens there. And I was
Do
like, hey,
people
that's
recognize
me.
you?
I mean, I went in there and was like, hey.
It looks like a Tamagotchi.
Yes, it's like rounded. And it was this commercial. I was in it with this like marching band from like Seattle that like they're into
What?
Burning Man. And it was,
Can we get our hands on this commercial?
I tried to find the one that I'm in.
They scrubbed
Like, I
it from the
searched for-
internet.
It's saved on one of my old laptops. It's on there.
We got to find it and post it
I
on the
know
Patreon.
it's on a hard drive somewhere.
That's really
But
funny.
I read that they were criticized for an online video advertisement for the phone that depicted a male teenager putting a kin under his shirt to photograph his naked chest.
What?
And he was then shown sending the image to a female teenager. It was like a party scene.
Oh
and the
my
dude
God.
like took a picture under his chest and like showed it to a girl, and everyone was like, "That's disgusting."
They're like Microsoft
They're like,
Kin.
"That's
Great
creepy."
for sexting, for
Yeah.
teen sexting. That's crazy.
Yeah. But I don't even think it launched. I don't even know what happened. It was a disaster.
Well, you cursed it.
I cursed it. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I got to find the commercial somewhere.
Guys, if you have a favorite, no, these are my questions. Are you Team Pepsi or are you Team Coke?
Great question.
Call in and let us know. If you have strong opinions on any soda, please let us know. Mm-hmm. And if you know of any insane Coke or Pepsi or soda flavors in general, please call in and let us know, because we would like to be illuminated into the wide world of soda. Melissa, if people want to call in or reach us, where can they do so?
You can email us at webcrawlerspod@gmail.com or call us at 626-604-6262. Is that the phone number? 626-604-62. Yeah, that's the
I think that's the number. Well, just call that number and see what happens, honestly. Yeah.
Call the number, see what happens.
All right. Well, I am Allie Corn Syrup Siegel.
I am Melissa Cocaine Stetton.
And that's our story. We're sticking to it. All right. Bye guys.
An Erios original.
Powered by Acast.